Hello and welcome to a brand new series on the channel, series number 27 here in Timberborn, where as of today's recording, Update 7 has been officially released to the main branch, no longer in experimental mode, so we're going to dive right in. There's not really any changes since the last series we've played, so if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, not really much new to report, but if this is the first video of mine you're seeing, take a minute to read the patch notes for Update 7 and familiarize yourself with what Mechanistry has done, because there's a lot of really cool stuff. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. Gonna play with the Iron Teeth, my preferred faction, and we're gonna return to Diorama, folks. I've got perhaps a stupid idea, but I think it's gonna be pretty cool if we can pull it off. Play on hard mode, and we'll see on the other side of the loading screen. Alright, so you already know what it is. We're going to name these guys Colony Beaverburg 27, as soon as I remember my Roman numerals, but there we go. And, as usual, 8 adults, 4 kits, hit pause so we can talk about what we're going to do. Diorama is a cool map. We did a live stream playthrough of this, I believe it was Series 10, back in Update 4, if that gives you a frame of reference of just how long ago that was. My goal with that playthrough on the live streams was so that we could have 500 beavers, which I thought was completely insane, because how in the world are you going to support 500 beavers on a map this small? Well, we had at that time a mod called Side Platforms that basically serves the same kind of purpose that the metal platforms and the overhangs serve now in Update 7. Well, they're not new to Update 7, but you get what I'm going for. And now I think because of that, and also, most importantly, because of the fact that we can do terrain overhangs and all sorts of like vertical water and everything, we are primed perfectly, if I can figure this out, to have a Diorama playthrough with 1,000 beavers. I'm going to try really, really hard to make that happen. If I fail, you get to see me fail. If I succeed, you get to see me succeed. But no matter what, whatever happens here, we're not going to do any takebacks. We're not going to do any chops or cuts or whatever. You're going to see the whole thing. So that's my goal. So let's go to the testing world that yes, I actually did a testing world. I know, gasp. I never do those. But we're going to go to the testing world, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of my plan here. See you on the other side of that. Okay, so we're in the testing world, and right now, this looks like a mess, but it's going to make sense when I talk about it. Pay no attention to the amount of land I've removed. But the basic principle behind the vertical overhangs of the terrain and all that stuff is you have a single shaft of terrain can support on any given side an overhang of 3. So that's what this is. We have a central piece right here. Obviously, it goes down to the ground level. Well, it's all ground level because it's all ground, but you get the point. This on any given side of a flat piece. You can go 3, you can go 3, 3, 3, so on and so forth, and then it kind of stacks, right? Because, well, stacks not vertically. Stacks is in like the amount of support that it can do. This is 3 wide because there's nothing on either side. It's just relying on the middle. This is 5 wide because each of these pieces is supported by another one next to them and connected to this bit. And then, of course, you include the centerpiece here. This is 7. So this is the maximum width we can get with a single terrain block touching the ground below. And I've done kind of similar things in the past in the 25th series, which we're currently in, not technically the end of, but we're getting there. I built a vertical farm, if you haven't seen that series. I'll try to put a little screenshot in here of that if I remember in editing. But what we did with that is we came in here with these metal platforms, the 5x5s, and we just kind of stacked those up and put dirt on top of them. Some of you said I should try putting in only dirt supports, and at that time I decided that probably wasn't going to be worth it because of spatial concerns. But I wanted to check and see if this was something that we could reasonably accomplish in this playthrough. So what I did here is I assembled a couple different sizes of entirely earthen support systems. This is a 7x7, this is a 6x6, 5x5, and 4x4. So the main problem we're going to run into, as you've seen here, is I cannot, for the life of me, or the life of the game, actually, it's not my fault, but I can't attach any more terrain to this because there's no more support that it's going to allow, because we have this post here. This goes out 1, 2, 3 this way, which will allow it to meet with this, but in the center, it can't fill that in. So obviously, if we had everything with 5 spaces in between, just to show you what that looks like. 5 spaces in between columns, not going to work if you want continuous ground without any other supports. 4 spaces in between columns, also not going to work because we run into the same issue of these 4 spaces do not have a vertical support within 3 blocks. So based on how the game counts it. So that's not going to work. 5 by 5 with the 3 by 3 space in between columns, not going to work because the centerpiece doesn't have anything to support. So if you wanted to do perfectly square support stuff, you'd be placing for every, I think if I've done my math right, for every 9 tiles, you're going to have a single earthen support, which, you know, probably pretty easy to build, but you're losing a lot of space here. And it's really not going to be a fun thing to try and build all over the map. So where do you go from there? Okay, well, let's try offsetting stuff. Remember, we have this thing here. That's the exact same thing we got here and here. And these are offset. If we take a look here to measure, 1, 2, 3 on a diagonal, which is cool, but you still have this problem. So you have to move the second pylon 1 block in any direction that will close these teeth, mesh this little bit here. So that's what I've done here, and the pattern is repeated once. So this is, if I can show you, this is 1, 2, 3 on one distance, and then 1, 2 on the other one. So X, Y, whatever, however you want to label it. I offset it so that these things here mesh, and this is repeatable. And I think if we want to have any sort of chance whatsoever at not only supporting 1,000 beavers, but doing it in a way that's going to make irrigation really easy, this is probably what we're going to have to do. Now, why would you not, you might be saying, put in just a whole bunch of 5x5 platforms and all that? Well, okay, you're going to get more ground space per level, but the irrigation isn't going to transfer as well because irrigation cannot go through metal. So when you do this, just to demonstrate, put this in dev mode once again, just to demonstrate what we're working on here. If I were to, say, build a little, just a 2x2 thing in here, okay, we'll ignore that, and then I were to put in a fluid dump, go ahead and just get that researched, go in here and give it everything it needs, and then give it a beaver or somebody to get in here and dispense it, then we'll just go ahead and... Actually, you know what? Bots don't care. Let's have the bot do that. Oh, now we have a drought, so, you know, don't worry about that. I've been playing with this for quite some time. Go ahead and give this guy a, I guess, a district center so he knows he actually has to have a job. But that is going to be what this guy's going to do. He's going to dump that out, and you're going to see, as soon as this starts filling stuff up... Oh, I thought I gave it all of the water it needed. Okay, well, there you go. So this irrigates up here, and then if we, for example, come over here and... I guess I'll just go ahead and just build that bad water discharge, have it closed, so all of that nasty goes away. Put this on 30 times speed. So now this eventually is going to come off the side of the map, but you should see when we have this drought start here in a little bit, these guys will shut off, and this is going to have irrigation all the way down here. And I know we do have to wait a little bit more time for that to be a thing. But basically, the whole principle of what I'm trying to do rides on this. We could have a single, or depending on the range, maybe 2 or 3 of these irrigation stations at the correct 3x3 size. I just did this for the sake of, you know, it being a quicker thing for us to do. But that would, in theory, irrigate the entire map on every single level, if there are enough pieces touching. So, 1,000 beavers on Diorama with only 2 water sources. Right here, this is the only 2 clean water sources on the entire map. If you minimize the amount of water you actually have to use for irrigation, I'm really hoping that this bit evaporates here before all this goes away, just so I can show you. But if you minimize the amount you actually have to have, yep, see, there you go. It irrigates all of that. So that's what we're working with. And I hope you can understand. Hope you can appreciate that I took the 10 minutes. Wow, that's a long time to try and explain this to you. But this is going to be so cool. If we can make this work, I don't know. And who knows, by the time this video gets published, maybe somebody came up with the same idea. At the time I recorded this, I could not find a single video where someone of, I don't know, like a major creator at least, had decided to do this. So if they did, sorry, I promise I didn't get it from them. But let's go ahead and get back into the actual game. And, of course, we are going to have to play normally for a little while because, you know, that's how it works, and I can't just dev mode all the terrain away on the first day. Okay, so now we're back in the actual playthrough here. If that melted your brain, well, it melted mine a little bit trying to figure that out. I spent a couple hours playing around with things, trying to see, like, what might work, what might not work. But none of that matters until we have a stable food supply, stable industrial stuff, and most importantly, we have enough dynamite. It's going to be like, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 pieces of dynamite, I think, to put all this stuff back down to the very base level. So, you know, we had our fun. First 10 minutes talking about the theory of what I'm hoping to be able to do to take advantage of every scrap of land we can possibly use up to the height limit to grow food and trees and all that, and then just build a whole bunch of housing for beavers. But now we get to actually play the game. So, you know, it's hard mode, it's diorama, it's kind of a hard map if you don't take care early on to set yourself up for success. So, what we normally like to do in all of these playthroughs is start off by getting some food gathered. We have a very lovely crop of berries right here. We've got some pine trees down here we can cut down. We've got some birches across the way. And remember, for Update 7, if you haven't remembered, well, now it's time to remember. So the birches now take 7 days to grow and give 1 log still instead of 9. So they are a much more useful early game resource. And maybe it behooves you not to skip right over those. I know that was a thing. A lot of people have said for the entirety that Timberborn has existed is, why would you bother growing birch trees? I've said it myself too. But now we have a little bit more of an excuse to take advantage of those guys. But we're going to go ahead and get food. We're going to get water, and we're going to get logs set up because that is how you always have to start a Timberborn playthrough. So that'll be there. Get those guys going, and then I will go ahead and build a water pump. You know, day 1, hard mode, cycle 1, I don't think we're going to need to be that concerned about water not being retained for growing of food to the point where we would have to put in other stuff. But keep in mind, even on hard mode, you do have a couple cycles before bad tides can happen. So if we have the extra resources to dam this up, or possibly a little bit better right here, and then build this up a tiny bit, that's going to be huge. Because remember, we only have these 2 water sources, which, just so I can show you guys, dev mode real quick. Strength of 3, strength of 3. So there's only 2, but they're pretty powerful. That's 6 CMS. And right now this is going off of 3 edges. Each edge can support 2.2 in flow before it backs up. So we'll have to keep that in mind. We always want to have at least 3 wide, or we have to have some sort of a jog or waterfall to gasp, all that stuff. So that's what we're going to be working on there. I'm going to go ahead, just for now, because this is where we are, I'm going to put in a deep water pump here, get it connected to our path network, and set the beavers off, let them do what they are going to do while we think about some of this other stuff. Just get this early game stuff out of the way. Obviously, they're going to have to be able to cut the trees. I am massively unconcerned about retaining pine resin at this moment in time, so we're just going to indiscriminately cut down maybe not all these trees, but these dead ones definitely can go away. We can get those taken care of first, but these are the closest ones, and I will, as these guys get a little bit further in, start taking away some of these trees from the cut me list, just because they are close enough. But for optimal pathway optimization, we'll just have that set up like so, and you know, they're going to do what they're going to do. So get that water pump in, and now since we still do have water, I'm going to go ahead and put a farmhouse in. Remember, the Iron Teeth have the 2x2 farmhouse, and this right here is probably going to be a decent spot to do it. And of course, kohlrabi is how every beaver farm starts. Very, very easy to grow. No processing required. 3 days, you get 2 kohlrabis coming out of the ground. And then once you have access to power, because Iron Teeth utilize power and industrial stuff a whole lot more than the rest of the beavers, then you can put in the fermager, which is again a very simple building, but does still require power. And then you can have cassavas, and you can have all that other fun stuff coming. But for right now, that's what these guys got to do. I'm going to go ahead and get our couple of small tanks in place, so we have some water storage. Now, for those of you asking, hey, what's going on with your menus? I'm currently utilizing a mod called More Groups that, as the name might imply, groups things into groups. So just keeps it a little bit more organized, and something that goes with the water beavers, which we're also currently playing, and I figured, you know what? We'll just leave it enabled on all the playthroughs we're doing right now, and that's fine. I'm also using the ladders mod, and there's a couple of convenience mods that you might see pop up here or there, but nothing else that, changes the gameplay significantly. I do try to keep that as, well, at least for most of these playthroughs, as undisturbed as possible. I do think I still have the tiny tubeway station. Maybe I don't. Maybe I have to go check and see if I have. I know I have it downloaded for the other playthroughs that we've been doing. But most of the rest of this has remained pretty unchanged, with the exception of course, the frog statue. Everyone loves the frog statue, which will be built in this playthrough just as soon as we have the opportunities to do so. But here we are, day 3, cycle 1. Remember, hard mode. The cycles, the temperate cycles can be a whole lot shorter, and you can be very easily kind of screwed early game if you get unlucky dice rolls, so to speak. But I think we are definitely going to need to get a second deep water pump in. These guys are going to go through water like you would not believe. So, yeah, got to get this farmhouse put in place. We do have extra beavers who aren't working right now, so I'm going to go ahead and put in a second. And I guess... this is going to be 2 beavers. This is going to be another 1, so that's going to be another 3 jobs. This will be another 4 jobs. And that's how many we have who aren't working, so I guess I shouldn't really build a third one of these. But it is what it is. Just got to get these guys pumping a little more, because now, you got to keep an eye on the well-being. And that -3 at the start for not having shelter is going to make things look a whole lot worse than they actually are. As long as these guys are on the right side of the graph here, you're fine. When it starts creeping to the left, then, yeah, you're going to have problems, as I do from time to time. But that is the way that it goes. Alright, so just speed this up a little bit. Let them go ahead and build. Hopefully, the rest of the farmhouse gets some stuff planted, so we have, hopefully, 3 days with which to grow some kohlrabis, get some more food going. Because the berries aren't going to last forever. We had the stuff we started with, and then we have these guys here. They can reach all of these. But, you gotta take your time as you can have it. So, I'm going to try to maximize our farm yield here by just planting a little bit more. I'm going to keep this available until we get to here. Just get them going. You can also, rotate beavers between jobs. It's not really that big of a deal. I'll just let those trees continue to grow. I mean, both of these guys can reach up here. Not going to be a problem. We do have a little bit of water. And day 4 without the drought warning, so that is a little bit of mercy on behalf of the game there. I know I just said I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put these lumberjacks in, since we have these guys who aren't doing anything. They're free to build, and you can pause them if you don't need them. So, we're going to take care of that. We actually have water storage now, which is good. This one should be the next building to get constructed. I think... if we can manage to get a decent amount of logs out here soon, then we can come over here to the dam, or the area where I always like to build dams, and we can put in, just to save a little bit of resources. Technically you can get away with this, if you can get down in here, which we cannot. So, unfortunately, we are going to have to be beholden to just making this same old 3 thing here. I can't put levees in, because obviously I haven't researched those. So that's going to be the simplest way to get access to what we've been trying to store. Yep, see, there we go. Drought approaching in 3 days. These reach 20 logs. We could, if we really wanted to, I guess I could have min-maxed stuff super painfully or whatever, and gotten some science out of the inventors to put in, levees or whatever here. But it's going to be fine. It's going to be just fine the way it is. I will take this out of triple speed, though, because I do want to see just how much these guys can reach. Okay, so these trees, they're going to be gone pretty quick, and we are going to need a little bit more to be cut down here. So I will add those guys. That should allow us to get these dam pieces in. The first, again, first drought's usually like 1 or 2 days. Hard mode could be 3 or 4 in the first if we're really unlucky. But I think we are going to be just fine. Once these are built, then I guess I could just go ahead and, have them start building it. Flip this so we can actually utilize this. But that's going to be the absolute minimum priority, both construction site and workplace. Also, it's not going to be connected until these trees are gone anyway, which is totally fine. Because these, this one's got another 5.5, 6 days, so that's going to be just fine. I think they should, they actually can't reach it. All right. Well, let's just go ahead and bring this path down this way. That should allow them to get access to that. And then before this gets blocked off by trees that grow, I'm going to have that set up just like so. So we can actually access stuff. And then, once we're not in the we don't have any logs situation, then we can come across here, grab these birch trees, and see what else we can get ourselves into. But for now, seems like we're looking okay. Probably need to do some housing pretty soon, but I'm much more concerned about accumulating resources early game in hard mode because it gets to be very, very bad very quickly. And those of you who've watched this channel enough can definitely attest to that. So I think they're going to be totally fine there. We do have 16 logs. I don't have any storage for logs, which is going to be a problem we can very easily solve by building either a small pile or a large industrial pile. Like this guy right here, this is one of the reasons I really like playing with the Iron Teeth, because you can build vertically so easy, and stuff isn't weird shapes or doesn't have a top on it or whatever. So I'm just going to nestle this right here. Very, very convenient, non-irrigated place. Hook it up with a simple path there. Again, this needs to be a low priority because we need to be using our logs to build the dam here. We have 2.4 days to get that done. In fact, I will make that super low priority. These guys can hold 20 logs apiece, but we are going to eventually need to get a move on with that. So day 5 draws to a close. We'll speed through this and then probably need to build some additional water warehouses, tanks for water. Once we have the science, we can unlock these guys. You know the drill. I don't know. They're just sleeping. I thought the game paused for a second. I accidentally hit the caps lock key instead of the tab key to select these. There we go. Looks like we've got the logs, more or less, that we need to get the rest of this built. They just have to, bring the stuff over here. We've got our 2 beavers working in the district center, which we haven't renamed yet. So let's go ahead and do that. It asks me to name the save file every time I do this, and I always think it's going to name the district center. It never does. And this is the 27th series of videos I've done on this game. I cannot believe it. We're having a really good time with these guys, so just keep on going. Yeah, we have all the logs we need. We just have to get these guys in here. So, seeing that, let's deprioritize the farmhouse. Again, these haven't grown yet, although they're about to. Just because I really want to make sure this gets taken care of. We're going to put these guys in the district center, and then they should only have to go like once or twice down there, and then we can put them back in the farm. So we'll just have that back to normal. And then take a look here. Yeah, it's basically done. Kick them back out, and back to the farm you go. Start harvesting. They can store up to 50 kohlrabies there. That's going to be fine. We just have to have storage for that. And I will continue to just kind of store food in places that are not irrigated, because that ends up being a much better usage of space. I do want to kind of keep this open if I can, just so we have access to get in there. So pop this in with some kohlrabi storage, if I can remember what these things look like. There we go. All right. Obviously, that's going to be another one of those things that gets built very, very, very slowly. Now we got 1 day left. Again, it's not going to be a super long drought, but we are substantially more prepared than I normally am when it comes to stuff like this. Just go ahead and put one more there. I keep pressing caps lock instead of tab. Good job. So, if you're wondering what these green arrows are here next to the water, that is a mod called Goods Statistics. That's really useful. And as you can see, what it does is it tells you the estimated time to fill or deplete a certain storage of a resource. So, especially for hard mode, if you have the extended droughts or whatever have you, then it ends up getting a little dicey if you don't have an idea of trends, which without the mod you can only, ascertain by looking at the stuff and keeping very, very close watch, which is not something I'm good at. So I'm glad we have access to that mod now. 4-day drought. So it looks like RNG has decided we deserve to be punished. But because we had the dam in place, everything is looking pretty good. Pretty good. We got this one tree. Needs another 3-4 days until that's going to be ready to go. And that's going to allow us to get into this entire part of the map here. So, what we can do now, since we have water here, we are not going to deplete this in 4 days by pumping with 2 pumps. It's not going to evaporate in 4 days. Let's try and get as far ahead on a lot of this stuff as we can, including thinking about how power is going to work. Update 7, if you're not familiar, does have a change to the power shaft section. You're wondering, well, where's the T's, where's the 4-ways, where's the high power shafts? Well, those have been gone for a while, but so on and so forth. The power shafts are now dynamic, kind of similar to how the 2-ways work. And if you're not familiar with 2-ways, well, then we'll get to those eventually too. But basically, the way this is now, because I know they can't get over here to build it, if you draw out something, it'll automatically place intersections. And it's really, really smart. We can't place these solid power shafts yet because I can't unlock them. But if you want to build vertically with the power shafts, this is what you have to use. And it's just such a huge improvement over the original system, where you had to build each piece individually and had to think very, very, very carefully about where everything had to go. This is a great change. I'm so glad they did that. Honestly, Update 7 has made a lot of really, really good improvements to the game. I'm not sure what else they can think of to quote-unquote complete Timberborn. But every time I've said that, they've surprised me, and they've had all sorts of interesting, crazy ideas, including, like, I think Badwater was really the first moment. That's Update 5, for those of you who were not around for that. That was the first moment where I was truly caught off guard, and I was like, well what's that going to do? And that's like, oh, I don't want these beavers to be poisoned, but it's added so much cool stuff to the game. You can't even be mad about it. It's opened up gameplay in so many ways that I never would have anticipated would have even been possible. So really, really, really pleased with that. This one's at 90%. This one is at 86%. So I know I don't want to just get rid of the trees because we do have a limited quantity of trees. We've already gone through most of the wood. So you can, well, I guess I could cut these down. But you know how it goes. Just got to let these guys do what they're going to do. But seeing how we want to have wood, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to say it's time to cut down a little bit more of this. I'm trying to keep some of these that are going to be outside the reach of the bad water, or at least kind of close to outside the reach when we have our first bad tide through here. And I think these guys probably would not survive completely. Remember, this is mixing here, so the 100% bad, 100% good come through here. Roughly 50%, because these strengths of these sources are usually 3, but this is going to be a whole lot more going through here, and we have this stuff getting pumped out. So these trees are probably going to die, almost certainly, if we have our bad tide. Well, it's not going to be today. It'll be episode 2 or 3. But you know how it goes. Just got to let these guys do what they're going to do. Get these trees grown up, cut down, get some more storage for the food, eat the food, something, whatever. And then, of course, once we have science, we can get into all the other fun stuff, like planting additional trees, which, something that has been changed for Update 7 is the Forester only requires 30 science now. It used to be 60, but now it's 30, so you get there a little bit quicker instead of having to wait a whole long time. But that ends up being fine most of the time. Anyway, outside of that, science I don't think has really changed very much for some stuff. Like, storages did get a minor update, but a lot of the stuff that changed isn't Iron Teeth anyway. The Folktales have a pile that is underground. It used to hold 1,800 resources. Now it holds 1,000, but they reduced the science cost and the construction cost. Iron Teeth don't have that. All this stuff is, as far as I can tell, still the same, so no problems there at all. And our beavers have very full water storage, very full food storage. And you might be asking, well, where's your breeding pods? Don't worry. Don't worry. We got the breeding stuff under control. I'm going to go ahead and put in, I guess, 2. I don't know. I don't have the logs yet to get those, but we are going to go ahead and get that thing started. because, you know, these beavers are going to grow up. All 4 of the kids have grown up, and they are going to die of old age, so they do need to be replaced. And it's still cycle 1, so I think we're fine adding that in at this point. Of course, housing would be nice too, but we still have some trees to get through. So this tree being removed now is going to give us an opportunity to get this connected here. And then I can take away, I guess, 2 of these lumberjacks. Take this off at triple speed. I hit the pause key instead. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move... I guess I could just put one of these right up here, because, you know, there's not really much of anything else. I can't actually get all of this at once. No, I guess I could get one of those trees. Well, you know, it doesn't really matter. Inconsequential. Just go ahead and get that there. Before we get too crazy, I'll just go ahead and put paths in here so everything has access. Got a small amount of trees up here that can also be marked for cutting, which I had not done. There we go. There is a slope here, but there is not a slope here, so we are going to have to research stairs before we get up to these trees. We've got a couple oaks up here, we've got some berries, and we got our scrap metal ruins. There's also some over here. And then, of course, the underground ones that we can, you know, harvest and then eventually put an efficient mine on there, which will, I guess this is another thing that got a recipe change. It no longer requires gears. It just takes treated planks. And if you want the efficient recipe, it also takes the extract, which we have to make from the bad water. So that is a considerable ways off in the future. But these guys should be able to take care of most of what they want to do. I'm going to hit pause on these 2 lumberjack flags because we really don't need those right now. And we need them to... Well, I guess they're going to finish the medium warehouse for the kohlrabis first, which is fine because we do need to have that. But I am also eagerly awaiting the breeding pods being finished. So we'll go ahead and get that situated. Just speed it up enough to get a couple more logs, get the rest of this taken care of, and we will be all good to go. They are taking their sweet time, though. They have to walk all the way around everywhere. Yes, once this tree is cut down, I will straighten the path. Don't worry. It's going to be totally fine. Let's get that in there, which will require water and berries. We have berries. We have water. Everything is looking pretty good. And what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to unplant some of these kohlrabis. I'm going to have, I guess, these spaces right here. We're going to start growing cassavas. Well, you don't have power yet. Well, don't worry. Don't worry. The episode is still young. We're only at, well, actually my recording says 34 minutes, but I've got to cut out loading time. So we're probably closer to 30, maybe 31. I don't know. It doesn't really matter anyway. So we do have this actually making a new beaver. They're going to bring these other logs in place here, and pretty soon this is going to start up. But I'm going to pause this for right now because I want these to be staggered. I'm going to turn the other one on when this one gets about halfway through breeding. Because you don't want to have birth waves or death waves if you can at all avoid it. And it's really hard with the iron teeth to manage this unless you're on top of the breeding pod situation. Folktails, you can have a little bit of an easier time because, you know, they breed to fill available space. The iron teeth just churn them out at a consistent speed, regardless of how much housing you do or do not have. Which, that's another thing we need to start building pretty soon. But like I said, if we can get a head start on the cassavas, which it's about to be the end of the drought anyway, then that is going to be a smart thing for us to do. Now, regarding processing cassavas, we have to use the fermenter. You put 4 of those in 2 hours you get 10 fermented cassavas back. That is a really good ratio compared to the kohlrabis, but it does require some labor. And of course, it's not the most efficient food in the game. That has changed from time to time based on different adjustments to recipes and all that. But for where we are now, it's going to be tremendous. It's going to be absolutely tremendously good. So these take 5 days to grow. 1 tile every 5 days will grant 1 cassava, which means you get 2.5 adjusted for recipe size. 2.5 units every 5 days from 1 plot of land. Whereas every 3 days with the kohlrabis, you get 2 units. So, yeah, kohlrabis are going to give you more food faster, technically, early on, but it doesn't scale very well. Cassavas are going to do well with that and they're a bridge to getting everything else, soybeans and canola, corn. Corn is a fantastic recipe. Take a look at the food factory. It's just 1 piece of corn and 1/10 of a log, and half an hour gets you 5 corn rations. No canola required. That is tremendous. And I know we took advantage of that with the Apocalypse mode playthrough a couple months back. So that is probably something to worth considering, quote-unquote, rushing for. But now as this water comes back, we're going to have an opportunity, just really, really simply, to use it to our advantage with compact water wheel. So I'm just going to place this in a, I guess, a convenient spot. Probably, yeah, probably just right here is fine. It does take 25 logs, but it's free energy. I could also, you know, build the Wheel of Suffering, but that's going to take 4 beavers, and they're going to, you know, produce a decent amount of power, but then those beavers can't do anything else, and you don't want that. We're at about 25% on the breeding pod here. Remember, we are going to unpause this one when this gets to 50%, and I do need to plant additional cassavas as this stuff gets harvested. We've got storage for kohlrabis here. It looks like all of these trees are now cut. That one will be next. So we have our 30 science. I hadn't even been keeping track. So let's go ahead and research the forester. But wait. It takes planks. You don't have any planks. Well, it's a deep subject. What we can do is, because the power generated with the compact water wheel is 60 HP per CMS of flow, once this is actually fully going, remember, this is 6 CMS coming out here. This has a potential to generate a pretty large amount of power relative to our expectations for early game stuff. Let's just keep that straight. So we're going to have them build that, and then attached to this one thing, we can choose to put an industrial lumber mill, or we can choose to put a fermenter, or we can choose to do both. We have options. So I think what's going to make the most sense for what we're doing right now is to put a fermenter here. And the reason I'm saying that is because we can put in that path there, although this does have to be finished before they actually build this. So let's keep that paused. Then all I've got to do is unplant this kohlrabi, which is, you know, 1/3 of the way through growing. But once that's done, this pathway can get moved there, and then in this 2x3 spot, I can put a lumber mill. And because the buildings will touch each other, then power will be transferred. It's not like water beavers, where you have to have power shafts going to every single building in exactly the right spot, and they don't share. The base game is much kinder. We could just put this guy right there, and that's going to be a very simple, very compact early game power setup. And then, of course, once we have more science to unlock stuff like the stairs or the platforms or whatever, then we can have the beavers go down in the river, and they can start building other water wheels. But this is, you know, it's what we have right now. It's the best we can do. So let's go ahead and get 2 more beavers in the district center so we can work on construction. Just keep an eye on this, and it looks like... Oh, is there... Okay, there's no more trees for this one to cut down, so why is it doing... Alright, whatever. That lumberjack flag definitely can go away. This one theoretically doesn't have anything... Okay, though these trees are going to grow up, and then that can cut down. I guess we'll be fine with that. We'll be okay. About 35% here. Getting close, folks. Getting close. Now, the danger you're going to run into with hard mode is that, you know, the droughts are going to get longer and longer and longer, but the temperate cycles are never going to get longer. They're going to, you know, give you between, what, 3 and 14 days, or whatever the math is. I don't know. But this fermenter, for the sake of our beavers being able to actually eat, does need to be constructed. So we're going to let that be its thing. We can't go too much longer without actually having the planks. So that is going to be something we have to keep ourselves aware of. But for the time being, we can go ahead and get this knocked out by building this and this at the same time, just so we have the ability to take care of everything else. These trees are all dead, by the way. They died due to contamination from before the clean water came back in. So, now they're cuttable. We don't have to worry about it. So that's going to mean this one can go away, and I can turn on... Okay, so these both have the same range. I'm going to go ahead and just remove those. That's not going to be relevant. I'm just going to put this guy here. Put that on highest priority because, well, you know, that's how that works. And they can cut down, I don't know, 20, 30 logs worth of stuff here. That's going to be totally fine. How much power is this generating? 122. I told you. I told you we're going to be totally fine with just this one for right now. It looks like, yep, we're about 40% there. We have full storage of water. That is fantastic. That almost never happens to me this early in the game. But going to get those cassavas planted. Just try to get as much as we can do. Straighten this path out. Nice and simple. We do have log storage. We don't have any logs to put in the log storage, but at some point soon, we will. We have one beaver who is not working. Well, once the fermenture is complete, then that is not going to be an issue. But the cassavas that we've planted are, you know, not going to be ready for quite some time. They're going to they're going to take another couple days, which it's a good thing we have the dam because, again, the droughts are just going to keep getting longer and longer, and we could very well have a temperate cycle that's only a few days long. So, you know how it goes. Just let them do what they got to do and move on when you have to move on. So as soon as this reaches the P in progress, we're going to turn this other one on. Let them do what they got to do. Ah, this recipe hasn't been selected yet. Fermented cassavas it is, but they're not grown yet, so we're going to hit pause. And we have to remember to unpause that. But we're just about ready to open this up. And by the time they put the berries in, yeah, it's just about perfectly halfway. Good, good, good. And we are still making science. We're not really, you know, in a position to use a tremendous quantity of it at this exact point in time, but that's going to be totally okay. I don't really need to have a second one of these lumberjack flags for this, but we have a beaver who isn't working. Might as well. Yeah, see, there's that drought warning on day 3. So we have day 3, we have day 4, we have day 5 to take advantage of all the power coming through the compact water wheel here. Make some planks, start planting some more trees, and all of the water we've retained here is going to be very important for that as well. That is going to require that we do a few things. First, this needs to be finished, and it's going to be finished. Second, we need to select a location for our forester, and we need to get those logs in place so that they're ready whenever those planks start coming off the line here. I think we can get those done before the end of our temperate cycle. And keep in mind that the clean water is going to take a lot longer to get down here than the dirty water is. So anything planted down here will die every single time there is a drought or a bad tide. That being said, we don't have irrigation anywhere else. So for right now, it's probably going to make sense to put this forester right here. Very, very convenient, centralized location relative to what we can actually build on. And once we can have some irrigation, you know, get those explosives or get those levees or whatever, and we can build some sort of thing. This is going to be a very, very good tree farming area. We just have to be able to, you know, do what we got to do. This is ready to go. We do have a beaver in here, which means I'm going to feel pretty comfortable taking somebody out of the district center because, you know, the building isn't that urgent. And we get our 2 beavers in here, and now they're working at maximum efficiency relative to what they have, of course, turning logs into planks. And we're going to be able to hopefully justify getting rid of most of these trees because we're going to be replanting them over and over and over and over. And let's also not forget we have these across the way here just as soon as I have enough science to justify unlocking the platforms. Which, that's 100 science for the platform. Not going to be my top priority. Stairs are probably going to come way before that. Ladders, of course, 250 science. That is going to be a little bit later on. I really like the ladder mod. I know some people are like, well, it fundamentally alters the play style of the game. To me, ladders should be a part of the vanilla game. And especially on a map like this, it's going to be almost impossible to have a tremendous amount of success without them. So I'm keeping them. That's just the way that goes. But we should, yeah, about the same time that, the temperate cycle ends, we're going to have all these cassavas pop up. Or start popping up, at least. So that is what it is. Got 2 out of the 7 planks. They're in the process of trying to get logs to get this. So I think you know, as long as we have enough materials to actually build the forester, we're going to be fine forever, even if we have to wait. Which, you know, we're very good at waiting here. That seems to be a tremendous amount of what we're doing. The reason I'm not cutting all the trees down is not because I want to get the pine resin, which we can't use yet. It's because trees that are not marked for planting will spawn baby trees next to them, so you get a little bit of free foresting going on. You see, like, this guy right here. There's a couple of these. So if you really want to min-max this, or you're playing on a really, really hard custom difficulty, you can do a checkerboard pattern for your cutting, and then that way there's always going to be at least 2 trees, 1 or 2 trees that will be able to quote-unquote spawn a new tree in between them. So, but we don't have to play like that. Like, hard mode in Timberborn for me at this point isn't really hard. It's just inconvenient. So, do what you got to do, I suppose. How are we looking here? Still the 2 planks, so we're waiting on the logs to come in here. We do have all the logs for the forester, which is good, which means all of the logs now can go into the lumber mill. Yes, we're going to build housing. No, it is not the top priority. I really, really need these planks to get made so we can have some trees started growing before we have our drought. Because remember, when there's no water through here, this is going to dry out and this is going to shrink a little bit in terms of what is irrigable. So let's go ahead and unmark that. Okay, that kohlrabi right there, we can just kind of leave that alone. But we are going to, oh, it's done. It's done, it's done, it's done. All right, let's go ahead and pause that lumberjack flag. I got to have somebody in here. And I think, see, this is already negative there. I do need to have somebody there, but we're not going to need that when we get to a certain point. Now, go ahead and take this down to 2. Take it off at triple speed. We don't need to rush through this. Although, I'm going to try to keep the first episode not an hour long. I'm going to plant a couple of different types of trees. Oak trees obviously are going to be the best bet long term across a variety of different types of planting. The oak tree is always going to come out on top. The danger is, and you guys have called me on this numerous times, the danger is if you only plant oak trees, you have to wait 30 days to get logs. But it's worth having at least a few when you first start out so that you can reap those benefits later. We talked about the birch trees being adjusted down from 9 days growth time to 7 days growth time. Pine trees, still technically better because 12 days you get 2 logs. And then the mangroves we can't make yet because I don't have stairs to get down into the water. So I am going to plant some birch trees. I'm not going to plant a ton of birch trees, but I am going to plant a decent bit of birch trees. We're going to plant some pines. No reason to really, have them in lines like this. I just think it kind of looks cool, and that is going to be what it is. So we got our beaver here planting away, and that is going to hopefully make things a little bit better for us. Now we do have some planks. I'm going to keep probably making some planks here just because it's a very smart idea to have those. I don't think at this time it's a smart idea to build a large industrial pile for planks because if left unchecked, it's going to just fill those up and you're never going to have anything else. So what I will do is I'll just make a small pile, which will hold 20 of them. Get that connected with the path. And speaking of paths, get that connected there, and now that's taken care of. 70%, 71%. Yeah, we're looking good on the cassavas. That is tremendous. And the trees are being planted. I don't have to have this on 1 speed, so that is looking just fine. And our breeding pod is about to give us our very first brand new beaver. And this one, of course, is approaching like the 40-45% mark. Nice and even. I don't remember exactly how many days it takes for this to go. I'm assuming it has to be 5 or 6. Somebody in the comments is going to know, so that's fine. I love the flavor text. I never remember what these say, and it's always so fun when I get to click on this. Kits are our future. We need 12 more by next month. Yep. That's that definitely sounds like a business perspective on reproduction of beavers. Oh, guess what we've got? We've got broken teeth. Let's go ahead and build ourselves a tooth grindstone. If we find a convenient place for that to go. I guess for right now this is probably fine here. And that is the way that is going to go. We have 1 day left before the next drought comes up, and we do still have a couple trees to cut down. We have some trees to plant still, and that, of course, is going to take the time that it's going to take. We have some kohlrabis. We have the cassavas that are going to be growing up very, very soon. And we have all these berries. They don't have anywhere to be stored. We also, don't have anywhere for the beavers to sleep, but that's something I'm much less concerned about at this exact point in time. I can't really justify using all the logs to build another medium storage just for the berries. These berries are not going to die anytime soon. Remember, we're not going to have a bad tide for at least another cycle or two. And that's going to be just fine as it is. We got our tooth grindstone, being used to grind the tooth, the singular tooth. And I think if we're going to do anything else before we have this drought, and I guess probably would be a decent time to end this very first episode, because if it's a long drought, it's definitely going to take a lot longer. If I had a little bit more in the way of logs, I would probably build some more storage for water. But, the general rule, 1 beaver, 2 water, 2 food per day. Generally, it's not exactly in all scenarios, but that means that every day our 12 beavers will consume 24 water. And we have 180 capacity, plus we have all the stuff in the river that's going to, just keep on being what it's going to be. And that's fine. We're going to be A-okay for right now. But we are going to need to keep expanding that as our population grows, so on and so forth. One really unfortunate thing. Why do we have... It's still the -3. Okay, that's the injury. These cassavas are about to grow, about to be usable, and our power is about to disappear. That 0.2 days drought approaching. So the fermenter is unfortunately not really going to be useful until we have power again, which we're not going to find out how long that's going to be for a little while yet. But we have one more pine tree to cut here. We got these. These get planted. I guess I could probably wait to see just how much this retracts when the flow stops. So, all right, here's what we're going to do. Get into our second cycle drought. Okay, 5 days. 5-day drought. Let's go ahead and pause this lumber mill, pause the game, talk a little bit of strategy, and then we're going to say goodbye. But now, yeah, see, that just pulls back a little bit. Now we have an idea of what we can actually plant for our forest room. We are going to keep planting stuff. Don't worry. Don't worry. So I'm going to just have this... Oh, come on. Autosave. Have this line come out this way. Have this line come out this way. So we have some birches that we'll get access to a little bit quicker. And then we got some pines. And then I guess this is fine. It's fine to put that as pines. I'll straighten this path out just a touch. Give us a little bit more room for some industrial stuff in the future if we feel that is necessary. And then I suppose plant another line of pines here. And then, for a start, that's probably a pretty decent tree farm. Looking okay. It's really unfortunate that quite literally as soon as this stopped, we started getting the cassavas. I guess if I had timed it a little bit better, then I would have planted these sooner, but you know how this goes. These guys are looking good here. Our equilibrium is pretty solid on that. We've got an inventor inventing very slowly, but still inventing. We have 28 science, which means we are on the way to unlocking stairs at 70. And other fun stuff too, like platforms and then also levees, so on and so forth. Plenty to do, but, for episode 1, including the discussion of the goals for the 1,000 beavers, I'm sure that is going to be incredibly, incredibly hard, but, honestly, at some point I had to start doing the crazy, insane stuff, right? This is the 27th series, folks. You got to keep innovating or you're going to be left behind, both in life and in games. But regardless, that's going to do it for this one. I really appreciate you watching these videos. I'm so glad we get to spend this time together. The names that you're seeing on the screen now, if you are new to the channel, are our beard boosters, they're channel members and Patreon supporters that keep the channel sponsor-free and make it possible for me to dedicate a whole bunch of time to playing this silly beaver game pretty much each and every day and taking care of some of my expenses and all sorts of stuff. And I'm very thankful for those folks supporting the channel, supporting my idea my belief that we shouldn't be bombarded with, parasocial sponsorship stuff all the time. So I really appreciate those folks. And if you're not on that list, I'm still glad you're here too. I am very happy we get to spend this time together and hopefully be a little bit of a positive influence in each other's lives, because the world needs that right now. And I'm going to try my best to always be that. So whatever it is you're doing with the rest of your day, stay safe, have fun. We'll see you back tomorrow for more beavers. In this series, we're going to run this series, today, as of your viewing. If you're a beard booster, it's Thursday night. If you are a normal person, I guess we could say, that's going to be Friday. But Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're going to have this series straight the way through. Get a nice, strong start to that. And then on Monday, we'll be back with the water beavers. And on Tuesday, we will be back with our Folktales Update 7 playthrough, where we're building a big castle. That's been a really fun playthrough. But I'm out of time. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Like I said, stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you back very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.